at last from supplements and juicing. The terrible struggle of restoring Adventism requires the eradication of every thread of human devising that may have found their way into our fundamental Bible principles. So too, restoring our Adventist health message requires the removal of every thread of human devising that may be posing as one of our health principles. Today we examine supplements and juicing programs to see where they fit between our health message and human devising. This, by the way, this is fine-tuning. The rough tuning was expelling pharmakeia. All right, we start at the very beginning. It was Friday night, June 6, 1863. God gave Ellen G. White the first of 2 comprehensive visions on health. It was a breathtaking gift of healing light to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. In great detail, God laid out for us what constitutes true health and healing. True health and healing. We called it the health message. We were given advanced principles of health reform that wonderfully prevented and reversed disease. And the contents of that comprehensive health vision can be found in the book Spiritual Gifts, Volume 4A, that's harder to find, Chapter 39, entitled Health, and that's the link to it. We built a network of sanitariums based on those advanced principles of health reform using no drugs. It made us the medical marvel of the world. We were the head and not the tail. We were known for our advanced principles of health reform and were considered to be a wise and understanding people. It was so effective that the world came to us like the Queen of Sheba came to Solomon. And indeed it was truly our golden age of Solomon. Now, this is the point at which we would naturally ask the questions, did that health message include juicing and supplements? What did Ellen White have to say about juicing and supplements? Any of you ever looked that up before? No. Neither did I. All right, now, in doing a search on the online Ellen White database, I found that God gave her no instructions for us to start manufacturing or using man-made supplements or concentrates. We're just stating the facts here. Number 2, however, she did talk about juice, yes, as opposed to juicing programs. The following are the 5 quotes that represent the essence of all she had to say on the topic of juice. So this is where we begin examining and weighing the evidence, the weight of evidence. Grape juice. The pure juice of the grape, free from fermentation, is a wholesome drink. The wine which Christ provided for the feast and that which he gave to the disciples as a symbol of his own blood was the pure juice of the grape. To this, the prophet Isaiah refers when he speaks of the new wine in the cluster and says, "Destroy it not, for a blessing is in it." Number 2, grape juice and eggs. You've heard this before, right? I have received light that you are injuring your body by a poverty-stricken diet. It is the lack of suitable food that has caused you to suffer so keenly. You have not taken the food essential to nourish your frail physical strength. You must not deny yourself of good, wholesome food. Get eggs of healthy fowls. Use these eggs cooked or raw. Drop them uncooked into the best unfermented wine you can find. This will supply that which is necessary to your system. Eggs contain properties which are remedial agencies in counteracting poisons. Boy, I wish he had specified what poisons those were. Now, this counsel was given to a Dr. Kress in 1904. He was at the Battle Creek Sanitarium. He was in critical condition from pernicious anemia and could barely swallow. Grape juice and eggs number 2. Beat up a raw egg and give it to the child with grape wine, the unfermented juice of the grape. 3 times each day he will rally. What's interesting about this wasn't about a child. This was an excerpt from a dream that God gave Ellen White. God was giving instructions to Dr. Lay as to what to do for Brother Wilson, who was in a terrible state of erysipelas and very weak. The child in the dream represented Brother Wilson. Number 4, lemon juice. Some people here really thrive on that. I think it's absurd. I use lemon juice freely, she said. It is the best. Hey, this is a prophet of the Lord using a superlative as the best. That's going to mean something, right? It is the best thing you could use for rheumatism, for your head, and for malaria. Who knew? Lemon juice for malaria is wow. Okay, number 5. Whoops, went backwards. Fruit juice. This is her speaking, Ellen White speaking. We are now expressing juice from the oranges and canning the same. We have pressed out the juice from the lemons also in order that we may furnish palatable drink for hot weather. Lemon juice is not palatable. Yes. But I've met people in this group who just love it. Isn't that right? Yes. Just as is, no sugar. Yeah. It does weird things to me. Anyway, beverages were often on the table but used in modest amounts. These are principles. Tomato juice, grape, and other fruit juices, carrot juice included. All right, after hearing all this, it would be easy to proclaim, see, God endorses juicing. Yeah. At first reading, this may appear to be true, but as we know, the track of error lies close beside the track of truth. When we step back, we see that there were no actual counsels to start general juicing programs whenever anyone gets sick. That's the key. No statutes, principles, or examples were given for such a thing. What was actually being portrayed was that there are healing qualities in certain juices to address certain health conditions. And some were simply palatable drinks, the use of which was to be in modest amounts. Now today, apple juice is used to shrink or dissolve kidney stones. Cranberry juice for urinary infections, celery juice for stomach ulcers, etc. These are in harmony with what was already revealed. Yet none of these can be described as a juicing program, such as is commonly practiced today when anyone gets sick. Modern juicing programs have a different philosophy altogether. And here it is. The sick are given concentrated nutrients and minerals. The sicker they are, the more important juicing becomes and the more juice is given, especially cancer patients. So at this point, we can just adding up the numbers here, at this point we cannot say that the current traditional practice of juicing programs and or concentrated supplements is a divinely appointed general principle for health and healing. These were not in our health message, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to get everything back to their original state. Now here's a common response in support of juicing programs and supplements, and it's going to be compelling. Here it is. But supplements and juicing programs work. I know they work. I've seen them work on my customers. And I do not dispute that. Yet, as strange as this is going to sound, that is not enough. I'll give you 3 examples here. Yeah, many claim, and I know some people, that drinking their own urine works. A lady actually told me that. Yet this practice is defiling and grievous. It reintroduces impurities back into the system, violates God's natural law, messes with the natural order of things, and dishonors our God. Because God's health statutes require no indignities or defilement, and they are never grievous. And by the way, the practice of drinking urine is an excellent example of how operating within the boundaries of God's divinely appointed health principles protects us. It protects us from the snares of the world's medical philosophies and traditions. His principles also protect true medical missionaries and health reformers from disrepute. Advocating anything out of harmony with God's healing principles risks bringing discredit upon the church. So we're going to need to study that health message, just like we're doing with our gospel doctrines. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Proverbs 14:12. Number 2, pharmakeia also works. Many believe that pharmaceuticals have helped them. I was in the medical field for 20 years. Yep. That's why they keep coming back to the hospital. They keep coming back, because they think it helps them. For example, cancer is claimed to be put into remission by chemo and radiation. Yet these suppress the immune system intentionally and fills the body with deadly caustic poisons, nearly guaranteed to cause something much worse down the line. These have always been a Trojan horse. God does not bless the poisons of pharmakeia. If he was willing to bless the use of poisons, then he would not have given us so many warnings against their use. I've got a booklet, 8.5 by 11, about a 1/4 inch thick, filled with quotes from Ellen White on this subject. Pharmakeia bad. All right, now let's just hear 2 of those warnings which God gave to Ellen White to tell us. This is kind of an aside for a moment. This is Ellen White. She says, "It is true the drugs sometimes afford present relief, and the patient appears to recover as a result of their use. This is only because nature has sufficient vital force to expel the poison and to correct the conditions that caused the disease. Health is recovered in spite of the drug, but in most cases, the drug only changes the form and location of the disease. Often the effect of the poison seems to be overcome for a time, but the results remain in the system and work great harm at some later period." That's the trick. If it happened immediately, well, we wouldn't use it again. All right, now that was something. Now she's really going to get serious. "I was shown that more deaths have been caused by drug taking than from all other causes combined." Think of the scope of that. Pharmakeia is more deadly than accidents, war, genocide, suicide, murder, disease, plagues, natural disasters, and natural causes. Has God placed his blessing on pharmakeia? No. This was not Ellen White's opinion. This was not hyperbole. This was light directly from the throne of heaven. The quote continues, and it gets worse. I'm so sorry. Here we are. "If there was in the land one physician, just one, In the place of thousands, a vast amount of premature mortality would be prevented. Multitudes of physicians and multitudes of drugs have cursed the inhabitants of the earth and have carried thousands and tens of thousands to untimely graves. Certainly, those numbers are now in the billions. This is why we're taking a very seemingly shallow thing and putting it up right up front here. It hides in the small things. Man-made, be afraid. And now she tells who controls the American Medical Association. The medical fraternity represented to me as Freemasonry. So, both our fundamental Bible principles and our health care were taken over by the agents of the papacy. So, just because something works does not necessarily mean it is from God. We are called to live by principle, promise, and every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. We are to be his representatives. It's not just about our health. We are representing God. He has promised natural means used in accordance with God's will bring about supernatural results. Therefore, if we want supernatural results, we must be sure that the methods we use are in harmony with what he has already specified. We have been told that juicing and supplements are essential in the natural treatment of disease, especially cancer. Yet many find this to be unsustainable due to the excessive drain on energy, time, and money. Yet God's methods are sustainable. They are simple, easy, temperate, inexpensive or free, available to all, and mostly automatic. Soon, this one here is kind of pivotal here. Soon, the faithful will be unable to buy and sell. Supplements and excessive juicing programs will be beyond our reach. And we can already catch the steady tread of events ordained by God to take place. It's not about how long we can keep up our juicing and supplements programs, but rather how quickly we can learn to treat the sick without them. The threat of losing our ability to buy and sell is certainly motivating to wean ourselves from supplements and juicing. However, I found that I was so much more motivated to disconnect from these things once I heard what the pioneers of hygienic healthcare had to say on this topic. So let's go through the 3 traditional reasons given to support supplements and or juicing and see what the old guard had to say. I've never used that phrase before in public. I liked it. I would like to be an old guard. Someday someone's going to say this group was the old guard. SDP, old guard. Traditional reason for juicing number 1. Supplements and juicing provide antioxidants to help fight disease, especially cancer. Well, that sounds good. This one is fast and easy. We don't need to juice or supplement or spend even a penny to acquire antioxidants because God has provided more than one way to obtain antioxidants. It is part of his redundant, overlapping backup systems in nature and in our bodies to compensate for deficiency in other ways. What I'm about to describe is, I suspect, God's primary way of providing antioxidants. Anyone here know what this is? Here it is. We simply reconnect to the earth from which we were formed, just like Adam and Eve. Walk barefooted on the grass. Just work in the garden. Just touch the earth and you will be instantly stocked up with God's antioxidants. Antioxidants are just electrons. That's all. This is known as the greatest antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-blood clotting agent in existence. Just touching the earth. It easily eliminates reason number one for juicing. You can't get any easier than that. I did a presentation on this called The Healing Soil that goes into detail and backs all that up with a big old chain of evidence. This, I'm not really providing the evidence. You're going to have to take it on faith or go see my other presentation. Anyway, it was magnificent. Traditional reason for juicing number 2. Now we're getting into the meat of things. We are at 36. Okay, that's good, good. The sick, especially cancer patients, require a relentless flood of concentrated nutrients and minerals. Well, the works of the hygienic practitioners of history, which you are about to hear from, because you haven't heard them yet, were not based on man's theories or tradition, but on many years of hands-on, in the trenches, life and death, battle-scarred experience. What did they say about juicing and food concentrates for the sick? And we're going to back it up with Ellen White as well. Here we go. The following quotes from Dr. William Howard Hay, Health Via Food. Just so you know, he is not an Adventist. Several of these are not Adventists, but what I've discovered in all of this, studying the health message, the health reform movement, Adventists were the tip of the spear. We were the flagship, but we were not the only spear, and we were not the only ship of health reform. He spread it out amongst so many people. Although the animal kingdom, all through the animal kingdom, fasting is the instinctive means used to recover from injury or illness. Man alone adhering to appetite even when ill. He continues. It gets better and better. It is even considered scientific by the medical lights of all time to feed in illness. And the more desperate the character of this, or the more protracted its outlook, the more importance is attached to concentrated nutrition to keep up the strength. He says, if this is scientific, then all nature is wrong. The animals in their native environment all need intelligent keepers, us. And a sick body should not rest, but should work at increased rates. Continuing on. When illness sets in, the first thing that happens is a total and complete loss of all desire for food. Even not infrequently, a repugnance to foods that produce nausea or vomiting at the mere thought of food or its odor or sight. God knew what he was doing. Nature, as it expresses itself in the sick body, must be all out of time with science, if such a thing should be fed. But it is fed. And the more serious the illness, the more importance does nourishment seem to have with the average prescriber. He continues. It is thus that little illnesses become big, that short illnesses draw out into weeks. And it is just thus that so many who should get well are unable to withstand the unnatural character of the treatment and succumb, not to the disease, but to the great aggravation of the toxic state caused by feeding unwanted foods and taking unnatural drugs. End of quotes. Now this is me talking here. We are counseled to fast. You know what that means when I say we are counseled, right? We are counseled to fast when sick. Even nature shuts off the appetite of both man and beast when sick, fasting us automatically. We are counseled to fast once or twice a week, eat less food, don't overeat, don't eat between meals, eat only 2 meals per day, don't eat meals too close together. Less food has always been the default for both health and healing. Here's what Ellen White said about overeating. What influence does overeating have upon the stomach? Well, the stomach becomes debilitated. The digestive organs are weakened. And disease, with all its train of evils, is brought on as the result. Overfeeding causes disease, yet Dr. Gerson of the Gerson Therapy, which is my next presentation 2 days from now, Dr. Gerson of the Gerson Therapy constantly, magnificently overfed his cancer patients, and it took his patients years to recover, as compared to all the other people I have as examples in this next presentation. Now let me read that a little slower, just right on, without me interrupting. Overfeeding causes disease, yet Dr. Gerson of the Gerson Therapy constantly overfed his cancer patients as though malnutrition was the cause of cancer. Is malnutrition the cause of cancer? No. Author John Gunther mentions in his book, Inside Africa, 1955, that Africa has malaria, tuberculosis, leprosy, syphilis, elephantiasis, and yaws. Cancer is, however, almost unknown among Africans. But the worst African disease is something more prosaic than we have already mentioned, malnutrition. Well, that's the end of that quote. Let's make sense of it. So, Africans were known both for their malnutrition and absence of cancer. If malnutrition is one of the causes of cancer, then why weren't malnourished Africans filled with cancer? The malnutrition in Africa was caused by a poverty-stricken diet. The next authors that you are going to hear from make the case, oh boy, do they make that case, that malnutrition can also be caused by overfeeding. We're talking Americans here, overfeeding, we are so sick. There is more malnutrition due to overfeeding with an embargo on assimilation, that's the key, assimilation, than to underfeeding. More often, there is a loss of power to assimilate special elements than in absence of them in the diet. Well, let's simplify that sentence structure, shall we? In the blue, there is more malnutrition due to overfeeding than to underfeeding. Overfeeding causes an embargo on assimilation of nutrients. The absence of special elements in our diet can be a problem, but more often than not, malnutrition is caused by a loss of ability to assimilate those special elements. You see why this was so important? That is a very serious practical import. This is why we don't just throw concentrates at the sick. Overfeeding could trigger malnutrition, especially when they are sick, making the sick much worse. All right, let's hear from Ellen White. The system receives less nourishment from too great a quantity of food than from a less quantity taken at regular periods and of the right quality. And she says, the quantity of food eaten does not determine the benefit received. All right, now we go back to Dr. Shelton's second quote. I've got 4 quotes from him. He says, consuming large quantities of juice waterlogs the tissues and overworks the kidneys. Now remember, this guy's experienced. He's one of the most experienced back then. Matter of fact, there is a juicing establishment in Santa Rosa, California. Water fasting is what they specialize in based on this ancient book. So, the less juice ingested, the more rapidly the sick person improves. Really? A fast is more effective than any form of diet. Not because fasting cures, for it does nothing of the kind, but because it affords the body full opportunity for house cleaning. The sick man is not so much in need of ingestion as he is of excretion, elimination of impurities. His body is already overloaded. He's sick. So more often than otherwise, he is suffering from nutritive redundancy. Abstinence or partial abstinence alone can save him. So that statement from Ellen White, assisting nature, we are to assist nature. No, nature is to be assisted in her efforts to expel impurities. That is particularly relevant to us during this genocidal age. Quote number 3. The other fallacy is the belief that the body utilizes food elements in proportion to the amount ingested. This is not true. Forcing large quantities of alkalis into the body does not assure their utilization. Indeed, one may be positive that the sick body will not be able to utilize them. Only a healthy body, possessed of full nerve force, is capable of properly digesting and assimilating foods. To overfeed the sick body on certain elements does not restore health. Again, this is why our first instinct should not be to throw concentrates at the sick, especially if we do not know what caused the nutritional imbalance. Ellen White, all that is taken into the stomach above what the system can use to convert into good blood clogs the machinery, for it cannot be made into either flesh or blood, and its presence burdens the liver and produces a morbid condition of the system. This next one is surprising. This is going to come from Dr. Augusta Rollier of the Sun Cure Clinic. Very surprising. Dr. Rollier found that there is a close relationship between the function of the skin as an organ of absorption and the amount of food eaten. He discovered that as food intake increased, skin absorption decreased. So Dr. Rollier determined that his heliotherapy patients must be persuaded to reduce the amount of food taken. Let's do a whole in other words thing here. Overeating hobbles calcium uptake and vitamin D production and numerous other internal functions, because sunlight is the catalyst for calcium absorption. Again and again, the pattern repeats itself that nature punishes us when we violate her health laws. But when we live in harmony with nature, nature rewards us with fabulous vitality. Now, let's clarify something here. Ellen White did not specify nutrition as one of our healing agencies, as the acronym New Start suggests. What she actually specified was a proper diet, which she always linked to temperate consumption of that diet. So, when the word nutrition replaced the phrase a proper diet, it led to the false idea that if a little nutrition is good, then a lot of nutrition must be better. We do not tamper with the words of God's prophets. Moving on to Dr. Shelton's fourth quote. The other half-truth upon which diet cure is based is that diseases are due to nutritive deficiencies, and cure follows an adequate supply of the deficient elements or element. Efforts to meet this requirement may take the form of drinking large quantities of juices or of using food concentrates, substances rich in minerals or vitamins. And all over America, the gum willies are talking deficiency to the people. And all over America, there are millions of people who are living testimonies to the failure of the theory and practices built thereon. This is important. This is not to deny that deficiencies exist. Rather, it is to point out that most deficiencies are due to failure of assimilation and can be corrected only by removing the causes that have impaired the nutritive processes. Think we can all relate to that, right? The causes. Enervation, toxemia, and the mental and physical habits that are responsible for these are the chief causes of deficiency. I didn't know what enervation was, so I looked it up. Here it is. Where'd it go? Enervation. Exhaustion, fatigue, enfeebled, and weak. In other words, let's give you one example here. When we are in such a state, assimilation of nutrients and minerals is severely hampered. That would include eating before bed when your energies are spent. Eating before bed will only exhaust you more, and you will wake up exhausted with no nutrients absorbed. So this is the primary paradigm shift in our thinking about supplements and juicing. Now we're going to focus a little bit more on supplements themselves. Many people claim that supplements, and especially vitamin D supplements, help them. Yeah, I've experienced that too. Now, I'm not here to dispute that. My issue is the Trojan horse effect of tampering with the natural order of things. I mean, just ask Google for the possible side effects of man-made vitamin D. It's astonishing, it's frightening. I'm not going to list them here. Lee Willard, he's an Adventist, naturopath, master herbalist. This is what he said. Anytime you take an isolated, concentrated substance and put it into the body, it causes an imbalance somewhere in the body. This is from Forks Over Knives. I'm taking a quote from that movie. Isolated nutrients will never have the same beneficial effect as healthy whole foods, as has been shown time and time again in repeated failed trials of vitamins. This is covered in great detail in the China study and in either the book or the movie Whole. In addition, multivitamins are not necessarily benign. There is evidence in some studies that risk of certain cancers in some patient groups is increased with supplement use. Let's get some details on that. In addition, there may be a higher risk of kidney stones and heart attacks in those who use calcium supplements. Vitamin and mineral supplements can be a significant cause of poisoning in children, and birth defects and liver damage have been associated with excess vitamin A ingestion. We weren't designed to have these nutrients and vitamins and minerals just injected to us or just taken without its protective delivery system. Dr. Gerson found that hormones, some vitamins, EAD, etc., calcium phosphate compositions, and keratin had a carcinogenic effect. Gerson had to stop using calcium, magnesium, and other minerals because they cause cancer to regrow in their patients. And if that's not bad enough, Big Pharma is buying up supplement companies. That means that they now have direct access to these things and can inject whatever hidden payload they want. They've already proven they're willing to do that. I mean, talk about a Trojan horse. This, all by itself, is enough reason to stop using supplements. Man may be afraid. Again, God's health principles protect us. Operating within the boundaries of God's divinely appointed health principles protects us from the hidden snares of the world's medical potions, philosophies, and traditions. Deviations from these principles is never safe. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. All right, back to the whole nutritive deficiency theory. Dr. Shelton gives 3 quick examples of other diseases besides cancer that have been falsely accused of being caused by nutritive deficiencies. The following 3 stories are excerpted from Dr. Shelton's book, The Science and Fine Arts of Fasting. Number 1, anemia. Anemia. There are deficiencies, but they are almost never primary, he says. Constitutional impairment, enervation, and toxemia is prior to the appearance of nutritional imbalances. The toxic state is the large factor, and the mineral and vitamin deficiencies are secondary to this. The truth of this is strikingly revealed in anemia, where the deficiency theory and the feeding practices based thereon are failures. Care that eliminates the toxemia, he's talking about fasting, is followed by immediate and marked improvement in the blood without any food at all, except water. Who would have figured that the solution for low mineral and nutrient content is to stop eating altogether? So this is why Ellen White tells us that nature is to be assisted in her efforts to expel impurities, fasting being one of the most effective ways to expel impurities. Number 2, goiter. Do you remember, by the way, this is not in the script, northern part of U.S., around Michigan, there was this whole goiter belt thing. They claimed to have cured, well, they blamed it on low nutrient content. They said it was cured by adding iodine. Do we believe them? No. I haven't found proof yet, but this seems to counteract it. Let's read this. Goiter also presents a striking demonstration of this fact. Care based on the deficiency theory is a failure. Care based on the toxemia theory is a success. Were they actually toxic in that area? Were they poisoning the United States up there around Michigan? I've had some evidence of that. Was this a cover-up? Care based on the toxemia theory is a success. The great object to be achieved is the elimination of toxins. Nothing more effectively promotes the elimination of toxins than a fast coupled with rest. No eliminative or curative diet can equal the fast for this purpose. Now this one, I've got this badly. By the way, the diet part of my health reform is my last frontier. Should have been my first. Should have been, but it wasn't. So this applies to me. Brittle and corrugated fingernails. Here's a story, true story, of a woman who was cared for in the health school. That's Dr. Shelton's school. Among her troubles were brittle and corrugated fingernails. She had been assured that this trouble was due to calcium deficiency. We all thought that. We all knew that, right? all these years. Oh, I looked online, how many the causes and cures, and they were always different, but there was some sort of nutrient or some sort of mineral, but they never agreed with which one, probably because they never ever worked. Among her troubles were brittle and corrugated fingernails. She had been assured that this trouble was due to calcium deficiency, and for some time, before coming to the health school, had been faithfully swallowing those calcium preparations that were prescribed for her. She was also using other food preparations that were prescribed for her. Nonetheless, her nail condition grew worse instead of better. At the health school, she underwent a lengthy fast during which her nails completely recovered. I mean, she was there for a while. So that when she left here, all traces of the former difficulty had disappeared by not eating. Wow. Again, this is why we don't just throw concentrates at the sick. If these 3 diseases are not actually caused by deficiencies, then why should we accept it when we see cancer being treated as a disease of deficiency? Nutrients, nutrients, nutrients. A friend of mine told me a while back that as she was just about to take some supplements, God said to her, "Why are you taking supplements? You won't have these in the time of trouble." What's even more interesting is that another friend of mine had the exact same experience several years before. God told her the same thing. While the man-made medical theory of industrialized, relentless juicing and supplements seems to have a plausible allure to it, natural law disagrees with it. The animal kingdom disagrees with it. Dr. Shelton and Rollier disagree with it. And God does not specify concentrates as a healing principle. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. So, as health reformers, we teach in the name of the Lord. Therefore, we are restricted to promoting only those methods which are fully in harmony with what the Lord has specified in statute, principle, and example. We should use only those methods which He has promised to bless for supernatural results, right? We dare not weave one thread of human devising into God's health message. We protect our health message so it can protect us. If we expect to remain standing as the world spirals out of control, our best chances for survival will be found in the realm of what God has already specified for health and healing. All right, this one's shorter. Traditional reason juicing number 3. Our soils and thus our foods have low mineral content. Well, that seems to make sense. It sounds reasonable, cause and effect, right? Yet before time began, God was fully aware of the condition of our soil in the end times. Yet He specified what He specified. Even if we cannot amend our soil or even own a garden, if we follow God's counsels on health and healing just as specified, nutrient uptake becomes vastly more efficient, which means even a small amount goes a very long way, which means we will not require concentrated nutrients like supplements and juicing. God has given us voluminous and wonderfully detailed health counsels. Each health counsel is a health statute. Each health statute is a natural remedy. This is why I suggest that the solutions for the global poisoning of mankind are not found in some new obscure remedy or drug or potion, but in finally living up to all the light we have already been given in our health message. All right, now, let's just bring to mind some of those health statutes that will make nutrient uptake more efficient, just off the top of my head, because I did this off the top of my head, because I've heard it all my life. Here it is. We are counseled to eat slowly and do thoroughly. to avoid much liquid foods, to avoid drinking with our meals, to avoid negative emotions when eating, to eat a wide variety of simple foods, prepared simply, including well-cooked grains. We are counseled that exercise is necessary for digestion. And that 15-minute walk, well, that's the next one here, number 7. Each one of these is a natural remedy. There's not just 8. These work synergistically to make nutrient and mineral uptake more efficient, replacing supplements and juicing programs. And here's more. We are told to avoid violent exercise or heavy mental work immediately after eating. We are told that nature is to be assisted in her efforts to expel impurity. We are told to fast regularly when sick. We are told to avoid eating before going to bed. By outdoor exercise and working in the soil, men and women will regain their health. Number of reasons for that, but working in the soil enhances our gut microbiome, making digestion more efficient and boosting our immune systems. We are told that fresh air renders the digestion of food more perfect and induces sound and sweet sleep. Who knew? Eat less food, only 2 meals a day, no snacking, to get as much sunlight as possible. Long ago, sunlight was proven to be the catalyst for calcium uptake. God has shown us many ways to compensate for low nutrient content of our soils and foods, and none of those ways included supplements and juicing. He has also given us a conditional promise about healing our land. Just this one slide here. 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now, just before we close, let's find out what the pioneers thought about fasting as compared to other methods of healing. That's just like one slide each. Here's what Ellen White had to say about it. There are some who would be benefited by abstinence from food for a day or two every week than by any amount of treatment or medical advice. To fast 1 day a week would be of incalculable benefit to them. Really, we got to make this a thing. Man. Amen. That is a remarkable statement, and we would do very well to heed this advice. But did you notice that she said some? Some would be benefited. Not all can readily, voluntarily fast or use fasting programs for various reasons. Mercifully, God has provided other options as well. And one of the most powerful alternatives to fasting is charcoal, activated charcoal slurries, poultices, liver poultices, etc. Charcoal supplements. That is a supplement I can get on board with. Sometimes in travel, like when I travel, I walk up the bluffs every day. I don't take the powder, I take the pills. The supplements, just in case they're easier to manage. So yeah, there's a place for both. You can find many, many fabulous healing stories on charcoal at charcoalhouse.com. Go to their blog. In Nebraska, thank you. Crawford, Nebraska. All right, and now, Dr. Shelton, how did he rank fasting? He says, it is possible for the body to do for itself in a few weeks of fasting what it will require months and even years to accomplish on limited diets. This is an important factor in the institutional care of a patient who has neither the time, nor the money, nor the patience to get well by any long, drawn-out process of dieting. The fast will also assure less suffering, more profound body changes, and more certainty of success. That's because fasting is a divinely appointed healing agency. When Dr. Shelton uses the phrases limited diet, he is referring to semi-fasts, such as juice fasting. And he adds this: often patients are sold machines to extract the juices from their fruits and vegetables and are urged to drink large quantities of juice to alkalinize their bodies. Greatly enervated, weakened, and in need of rest, these patients spend so much time in their kitchens making juices that they wear themselves out and grow worse. So, in these end times, God, in mercy, is gently directing us back to the safety of His divinely appointed health principles and statutes. He is showing us the better ways. Those statutes liberate the overworked, overwhelmed natural health care providers and the sick who must treat themselves. Those statutes provide us safety, health, healing, credibility, and an entering wedge. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which will hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? Deuteronomy 4, 5 through 8. Okay. Father God, again, we thank you for leading us closer and closer back to your ideal. Your word is not made void. Nothing is wasted. We know the mercies you have towards us, and that you keep working with us, and we thank you, and we acknowledge it, sir. We ask for your continued blessing in this camp meeting, sir. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.